Do we actually? Okay, there we are. So let me mute things so I can stop getting distractions. And how's it going? Welcome to Sunday. Hopefully everybody's week has been delightful so far. My Sunday hasn't been too bad, so I have nothing to complain about personally. Love that for me. Guess I should go to Twitter really fast, do all that fun stuff. Gotta love when the search bar doesn't autocomplete the way I want it to. Yeah, gotta love when you're not even signed into the account that you want to be signed in on. Anyway, so today's stream is meant to be about book to movie adaptations, book to television show adaptations, and series continuations, as that seems to be the theme of 2020 so far. So I thought I would have a nice little discussion about it. I wasn't initially going to talk about this kind of a thing on my channel, but then Percy Jackson got announced as a Disney Plus series this week, and I have thoughts and opinions, and I figured that doing a sole Percy Jackson video wasn't really something that I personally needed to do because I'm not like the world's biggest Percy Jackson fan. But I also feel like some of the Percy Jackson discussions I've been seeing on my timeline, I have some opposite opinions. So I figured on my channel we could come and we could talk about them, and people could share their thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and we can have a nice discussion for however long this stream lasts. My first thing that I want to say is that I personally do not like the idea of Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, being a full season-long adaptation. I think that Rick Riordan's books are poorly paced. I think that they just are. I really didn't have that feeling until I got to the Heroes of Olympus, so maybe Percy Jackson is better paced. But I just feel like they're poorly paced, and I don't need poorly paced television. Television does that enough on its own. I don't need the adaptation version of it. I also just don't think that it's necessary. I honestly don't believe. Like, is there enough content in The Lightning Thief to give us 10 hours? Maybe there is. I'm saying 10 hours with the assumption that it's going to be an hour-long episode, but it's aimed at 12-year-olds, so we're likely getting 30-minute episodes. So really, 10 episodes would just be 5 hours. And I don't even know if there's enough in there for 5 hours. Okay, so now that we've tweeted, I've done the things, I can have my attention fully focused over here. Okay. I don't think there's enough in The Lightning Thief for 5 hours. And when I say this, as readers, and people who have experienced the source material, I think that a lot of the time there is a desire to see a lot of the details carried over into live action the same way they played out in the book. And I personally don't need that. I also really just don't need the number of adults that I've seen super excited to watch two 12-year-olds fall in love. Like, that's just my opinion here. Hello, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And then you're saying, I think half our episodes was about 10 episodes tops and maybe 5 to 7. I'm only giving it 10 because I know that Disney Plus originally greenlit 10 episodes of their Love Simon spinoff, Love Victor, and Love Victor's 30-minute episodes. And even that got booted to Hulu. And that's the other issue that I have, is that people seem to be willing to give Disney some, like, I don't know, this idea that they're going to get all of the representation that Mr. Rick Riordan gave us in those books. And I don't think that Disney's going to eliminate it, but am I going to trust Disney? No, I will trust Disney when they give me a black princess that is a black princess for the whole movie. Not even like the black one. Like just show me where. Oh, I love the people. It's a Sunday. Why does your car need to be that loud on a Sunday? Disney just has never done representation well, in my opinion. And so the idea that just because Rick Riordan is involved, it's suddenly going to be better, don't think so. I don't see it happening. I also don't really think that the diversity was in Percy Jackson, because Nico wasn't really... I mean, Nico was coded as gay, I remember, in that original series, but I don't think he was really confirmed gay until the Heroes of Olympus series. And then he didn't get a boyfriend, really, until the Trials of Apollo. So that's like 10 years after the character was introduced. And so, sure, that's established now, but wasn't established when we met him. And I didn't even know we met him in the third book until people were tweeting about how they can't wait until season 3, which, again, I think y'all are... I don't want to say delusional, but like the idea, and I don't know what the deal Mr. Riordan worked out was. You know, some series get multiple series, like season orders at once, but I would not be checking for a season 3 of a show we have not seen. We have not seen it. And I understand that people, they trust Mr. Riordan. I get it. I fully understand. But personally, I just don't have that same attachment to that man. So yeah, see, he's confirmed gay in book 4 or 5 of the book. Yeah, again, like these. Okay, my bad. Did I say he was confirmed gay in the Heroes of Olympus? I think that's what I meant. But I think that the Heroes of Olympus was probably the worst paced, and so the idea that there was like that tweet, they were like, oh, I can't wait for season 5 to end, and then it'll be like, join us for Heroes of Olympus. And it's like, Heroes of Olympus could really just be a half-season arc. Like, it really, truly could be. Half of the series was spent getting, like, reacquainted. And if I'm being honest here, I kind of wish we were getting a Heroes of Olympus adaptation. I know that it doesn't make sense just to jump straight there, but at least those characters are YA age. Like, everybody's 16, 17. Like, just, that makes more sense. I would feel much more comfortable with people shipping some random 17-year-olds, exciting to see them share scenes, than I am watching people want to see 12-year-olds fall in love. Like, if you want to see 12-year-olds fall in love, you can just go watch Boy Meets World again. Like, you don't need Percy Jackson. Like, Percabeth did not invent middle school relationships, and I think that's why I felt so weird tweeting that I wasn't comfortable with it, because it's like, if I went back to watch Boy Meets World, I probably would still be here rooting for Corey and Topanga, and I probably wouldn't feel weird about it. But there's something really strange about the number of adults I've seen just romanticizing 12-year-olds talking to each other. Like, that's just me. Maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. Anything is possible. I do agree with this. I think that trusting Disney makes as much sense as trusting Amazon, especially when it comes to non-white characters, especially when it comes to characters who aren't straight. How many times have we seen the press release from Disney talking about it's their first gay character in a movie? Like 7 times. 7 different times we've seen that headline. And you want to trust Disney? And I know that there are like arms of Disney that have done representation well. I think that Freeform, formerly ABC Family, has had some really great diverse characters, some really great non-straight characters. And I think that if it was on that platform, I might trust it. If it were on Hulu, I might trust it. But the fact that it's going to be on Disney Plus and we're starting with these characters being 12, like I don't trust it. I don't trust it. And I understand the idea of we're going to introduce it to an audience that it's actually intended for. Because I think that middle grade people, 12-year-olds, should have good TV too. Like, I don't think adults should be the only people getting quality entertainment. But I think that people need to understand that if they're starting when the characters are 12, the audience for this show are going to be other 12-year-olds. Like, it's not you, which I also think is just so strange. I think that this announcement is even more strange than the Midnight Sun announcement, or even the what was it, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which we're going to get to in a little bit here, because at least those properties are still having protagonists that current YA readers could get into, and they're at a point where they could enter this series and they could still go back and enjoy the original content. But Percy Jackson is literally just trying to get current 12-year-olds to go and read this, because I don't think that they're reading The Lightning Thief. I'm sure they're reading The Trials of Apollo, which is cute. I don't know what 12-year-olds are reading. All the 12-year-olds, they don't read. The 12-year-olds that I know, they ain't reading. So I can't go up and ask them how they feel about this. I can't ask them if they've read the series. So I think that it's weird, from the announcement to who is excited. Like, I think the actual demographic of the show is going to be very different. And so I don't know. Obviously, you can enjoy younger skewing content as an adult, but I wouldn't have lofty expectations for it. I think that Heroes of Olympus would be better in like 3 movies tops, not a 5-season TV. Same. I think that Heroes of Olympus is probably the worst paced series that I've ever read in my entire existence on this planet. I remember reading the Heroes of Olympus. I want to say it was last year. It might have been 2 years ago. I checked out the Rick Riordan Kindle from my library, and I was reading through the heroes. And it's the first 2 books exist solely to set up where we are now. That's it, to give us the prophecy and explain the Roman situation to us. And then the next 3 books are low-key terrible. And the only one of them that I liked, I think it was House of Hades. The Mark of Athena was interesting. I enjoyed aspects. But House of Hades, I think, was probably the strongest in that series. And then the conclusion I felt was rather lackluster. And I never continued on into the Trials of Apollo. So as much as I probably should have, I didn't continue on to Trials of Apollo because I just didn't care. I'm excited for the show, but I'm not excited for adults to be. Yeah, I think that's. But do I want 12-year-olds on Twitter? Not really. I think they should stay in their little separate corner. But I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out, because I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of this being made obviously for 12-year-olds to get them into this series. And it's just a bunch of adults nostalgic for 2005. Which, funnily enough, I think I've talked about this every time I talk about Percy Jackson, but the first book and I share a birthday. So I'm not excited that this June 28th is the 15-year anniversary, because I don't need anything eclipsing my birthday. But yeah, I'm also not excited for adults with the entire fandom. I think just based on the platform that Disney chose to put it on, because they have a plethora of stations. They have more than one streaming platform. Like, there was a lot of places this could have gone. And I don't like the one that it wound up on. And I don't like the idea of revisiting Percy Jackson again. I also just want to throw this out there. I don't understand people who want Logan Lerman to play Poseidon. Again, I haven't read these books in a long time, and I understand that it's like a cute little nod, but I don't understand how you can be like. I don't understand the Percy Jackson movie fandom. First of all, I think I've watched the movie like one time in my life. I didn't watch Sea of Monsters. I don't have a lot of feelings about the movie. I don't care. I don't think it's particularly good or bad, but I think that it's really strange that I see people critique the movie for casting older characters, like casting Percy as 16 in that initial setup, and having Logan play him, but still want Logan to be involved because they like. I don't understand it. It seems a little too complicated for me. I'm not intelligent enough to really understand the distinction of we hate that you were casted originally, but we like you, so like we want you to come back and be this. No, I don't need Logan Lerman involved in any way. If he wants to show up in a cameo in the pilot episode when they're at the museum, that could be cute. Like, oh my goodness, look, Logan's looking at a painting in the background. Sure. Poseidon, no. Just no. Stop. What 28-year-old? I think he's only like 28 years old. What 28-year-old is out here with a 12-year-old child? That you want Logan Lerman to be a teen father? Stop. No, sorry, not my Poseidon, not in this universe. So that's my thoughts, really. I think that the idea of that series being a television show is just a bad idea if we're following the books. If we were just set in this world and we were going to follow different characters at Camp Half-Blood and we were going to go on different quests, that I think could work as a TV show. But the material that's in that series, those 5 books, I don't think, 1, generates 5 seasons worth of content. But 2, I also think it's really strange how I think that this is usually, at least in my experience, the downfall of book to television adaptations is when they take the first book in the series and they try to give that a series long arc. Because Shadowhunters did the same thing when they were on Freeform. They had that flop of a movie, which I won't hear anything good about because there's literally nothing good about it. And I say that even though Constantine, who did the film, also did the television show. So it's not like they were like making all of the props from scratch again. Like I'm sure they reused some shit. But the first season of Shadowhunters tried to be really faithful to the source material. The only thing they added in was Lydia Branwell as a character who doesn't really exist in that way in Cassandra Clare's first book. But other than that, was a pretty faithful adaptation, and it is pretty universally derided as the worst season of the show by literally everyone. Like, so I don't understand like why. And then in the second season, when they stopped trying to follow the plot of the book and just take the essence of it, it was far more successful. And I think that that's what adaptations should be. They should take the essential essence of things and make it work and stop trying to give me a beat. If I wanted a beat for beat replay, I could pick up the book. If I'm picking up the television show, if I'm tuning in to see what you're doing, it's to see how you're taking the thing that I read and giving it to me in something of a different way. Not completely different, but a little different. I just need the important events, okay? Just the important events. So I've seen some comments come in. The Logan Lerman thing really clinches the whole nostalgia aspect of the excitement for this. We can be happy to see another iteration of the story without pulling from what we liked when we were 12. Again, I think that's probably accurate. I mean, I think I want to say it was like, the movie came out like 2009, so I was like 14-ish, I want to say. Maybe this, I don't know. Maybe it was the second movie that's coming out. I just remember people were talking about it when I was a freshman. So I want to say I was like 14 years old. And I don't understand why people want Logan to be involved again. I'm excited to see his career has become something that's like more in focus for me. And so like, I think that again, like if he wants to be in the background, sure. But I think that involving him in this doesn't make sense to me when you all try to like tear down this movie every chance you get. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody talk about bad adaptations without bringing in Percy Jackson. But then y'all want to involve the cast. Like, I don't know. I think y'all are just, it don't make sense to me. I mean, the Greek gods and goddesses were lit, so it wouldn't be out of pocket for Poseidon to be a teen father. You know, it wouldn't be, except, and I understand, like, they're, like, older, like, they're as old as the Earth, I guess? I don't know. But, allegedly, the big three weren't supposed to be having children since World War II. And while we all know that's a lie, I'm sorry, if you haven't read the books, spoiler, the big three were out here they were fathering children after World War II. I don't think Hades did, because I think that Nico was born before World War II. I don't know. But it don't make sense to me. And if you're an ancient being, I don't know why you would want to look. I mean, Logan Lerman looks older now when he has, like, facial hair. But he don't look super old. Like, I don't need it. I think this is a bad idea. Shadowhunters was so much better when they stopped being so faithful, but they did. They threw a fit. And I didn't understand it. People will go back and they'll complain about how season 1 they had light up seraph blades, which is what Cassandra Clare wrote. They'll complain about the marks, which faded just like Cassandra Clare wrote. So like, and I understand. I'm pretty sure like the marks stopped fading after season 1 because like I'm sure that was like a much more detailed makeup application process than like temporary tattoos they could mass produce or whatever. But still, like I think that the show gave us all of the important elements of 6 books in 3 seasons, and I think that was really impressive. I also think that similarly, I mean, I guess he was, but he was only that in retrospect. Like nobody in 2009 was giving him that title. We just decided in 2019 he was the original. I mean, I guess they haven't, but I think that everyone else in that cast was probably decently. I think that Alexandra Daddario, I haven't seen her in a lot of things, but the stuff I've seen her in, she was good in. Like her little scenes I've seen of her in White Collar, she was good. In Baywatch, she was good. Like y'all were mad because she wasn't wearing a blonde wig. Like since when has being like where in the I think that's one of the things. It's like where in the narrative is it important for her to have blonde hair? Like where in the narrative? Where? I understand people throw a fit because Daniel Radcliffe didn't have green eyes in the movie adaptation, but even like him, it's not even that his green eyes are important. It's only important that his eyes match the color of his mother. Like all of these little character details that y'all want, like it's not important to the character. Like like Annabeth having blonde hair, not important to the character. I've also seen a lot of people trying to get they want Disney to cast multiple Aphrodites of different body sizes and ethnicities, and I'm assuming of different genders. I don't know. I didn't see that part, but I want to say I did see people wanted like different ethnicities and body sizes for Aphrodite. I think that's a cute idea, but I think y'all are setting yourself up for disappointment if that's what you think Disney is about to deliver. I don't think Disney is going to deliver a bad product. But the Daddario siblings monarchs, they really are. They truly. When Alexandra starred in this, she cursed it. But I don't understand how anybody could hate Matthew Daddario when the Alex they cast in the movie looks like trash, like legitimate trash they found in a bin somewhere and threw him on there. Like, that's not my Alec. And I don't even like Alec as a character. So the fact that Matthew Daddario and Harry Sheldon Jr. made me feel for that man, that was acting. But yeah, I don't understand what's happening with the the Percy Jackson TV show. I think this is a terrible idea for each book to be a season. And I think that what we are quickly going to find out once this comes into focus, because nothing's going to be in production this year. Like, Hollywood is shut the fuck down. Rick is still writing his little script notes. Like, this show is so far off in the future, it seems silly to even talk about it, because nothing's even going to start filming, just in general, until at least, like, 2021. So, we ain't seeing the show for a long time, and I think that when we finally do see it, I think that people are not going to be as excited as they are today. And I don't think that people are going to enjoy it as much as they think they will. And maybe I'll be wrong. I would be happy to be wrong. Just like I would be really happy, this is going to be my little transition, to be wrong about The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, which is out in 2 days on Tuesday. And y'all on Twitter were very shady. And y'all told me that even though I said publicly I was not going to buy that book, that I should still spend the $18 and buy the ebook. I haven't decided if I'm actually going to do that yet. I haven't decided how important it is for me to actually read and review that book, but I have no faith in Suzanne Collins based solely on the little 2-minute audio clip that they released like a month ago, where just no faith in it, where the book starts off with fucking President Snow eating, like, I think it was like salt and peppered cabbage, and I think it was his sister, or no, it was his cousin, was about to go sell herself, do some sex work so he could buy a shirt. Like, I don't know what part of look at this rough start beginnings, look at this look at this man who is struggling, all he has is boiled cabbage. I don't know what part of that is not meant to be sympathetic to a man that went on to commit mass murder of children. Just mass children murder. Like mass murder. Then he was forcing people into prostitution. Like he was where is Suzanne exactly not making this man sympathetic? Like, do I think that you could be a complex person and like do evil things? I think so. I'm sure you can. Like, again, sure, maybe you really can't. Again, this is a series that I haven't read since 2012-ish, I want to say. I was in high school when I read The Hunger Games for the first time. I think I had already watched the movie when I started reading them. And I think that this is a situation where I think that I'll listen to the audiobook, but I'm not excited. I'm all about checking ballots. I was too. And then I went, and it wasn't even like the one where in the middle. I don't know how libraries are doing their purchasing right now, but a couple of weeks ago, I tried to like go in and search it up on Overdrive, and it wasn't even available to recommend. Couldn't even recommend the book. Yesterday, it finally was able to be recommended, but I don't think it's actually been bought yet. Let me see if it's been moved to my holds. I haven't got an email, so I don't think that it has been. So I was like, I guess I have to. Yeah, it's not on my hold shelf, and it's obviously not checked out to me. So I might have to buy this book just to see what it's about. We have to feel bad for him because he had an English breakfast. I have to laugh. I mean, English breakfast, when I Google it, look a lot better than just eating boiled cabbage. That's what y'all are eating in England. I mean, I like cabbage. I think that is a fine food. You can have that as a nice little side dish. Like, I have cabbage. We've had cabbage in the past month a couple of times. Like, I'm not feeling bad for him because he had to eat some cabbage. But it's like, we get it. Your family, like, you live in the capital, but you're the poorest person in the capital. Like, your cousin is out here prostituting herself to buy you a sweater. Your family has been ruined. You used to be wealthy, but now, again, you're the poorest people in the capital. You only fit in at school because everyone has to wear a uniform, and so no one knows how poor you really are. And oh no, woe is me. They're like, I'm gonna look so poor on the reaping day. I'm President Snow. Again, this man killed people. He killed children. He forced people into prostitution. He is like, I don't care if when he was 13 years old, he was, and I think what bothered me is that I don't think that you could really make the argument that Collins isn't trying to make this man sympathetic when she does the same thing with Katniss at the beginning of the Hunger Games. Again, haven't read it in a long time, but the Hunger Games opens with Katniss like leaving her house, I believe, to go hunting in the woods, and it talks about how she hasn't eaten in a long time. Like, she's like frail but strong or whatever. It's a very similar situation where you see Katniss and how poor she is, and you're seeing Snow and how poor he is. Like, the idea that she isn't writing him to be a character that you appreciate or feel sympathetic for is odd to me. Sure, later on in the book that might change, but he's still the protagonist of the book. I don't think there's going to be a bait and switch. I think if there was a bait and switch, that could be interesting. But how many isn't he like the mentor of a poor girl from District 13? How many poor girls from District 13 do we need to follow? But I'm also not with a lot of the Hunger Games people who want books from all these other people's perspectives. Like, I don't really care about a Haymitch book. I don't care about a What's His Name book. I don't care about an Annie book. I don't care about a Mags book. Like, none of these are characters. I don't care about a Joanna book. None of these are characters I'm like, they could do a story. Like, I could get a full 300 pages from them. I don't think that they are. Like, sure, maybe a novella, maybe a quick short, maybe like a little television episode, but I don't think I need a full book. I don't think this is the world that we needed to go back to and look at, because if we're being honest, a situation where every year for 74 years or 73 years, right? Because the first book is the 74th Hunger Games and then the 75th. So for 73 years, y'all just sent your children to die. It took 73 years to build up a resistance. 73 year. Okay, sure. Like, I think that I don't think the world ever made sense. And so I think that going back in time to when the world is fresher, and you would think, I mean, I guess the Capitol did nuclearly bomb District 13. Like, okay, I guess you're not trying to, like, sure, you're not trying to fuck with the people with the nuclear bombs. But I don't know. It is, when your world is already that, I don't know if I need more of it. What was it? Boiled cabbage is good, though. Why would like I said, I enjoy some cabbage. I do prefer to saute it. Some corned beef. I do. Again, like, I'm not saying that cabbage is a bad food, but cabbage is cheap. Cabbage, I think, is like, at least here in California, I want to say cabbage, depending on where you go, is like 99 cents. Like, it's cheap. You can get the expensive cabbage, like the Napa, which is I don't know if I like that one as much, but you can get that, and even that's only like $1 and some change. Like, obviously, cabbage is meant to represent this man ain't got no money because all he has is boiled cabbage. And so when I read that, I was like, y'all lied to me. Y'all were like, ooh, she's not going to try to humanize him or whatever, and he's going to be a terrible person. Okay, but we started off with him being humanized. So what's the truth, Hunger Games fans? What's the truth? And I know if I feel like I could probably get through it quickly, and if I did get through it quickly, I could just like return the book. I don't really need to keep it. I did the same thing with what was that book? The third book in the Cruel Prince, Queen of Nothing. I did the same thing with Queen of Nothing. I spent $13. I read the book. I returned it to Amazon. I was like, no, thank you. Don't want it. So I might do the same thing with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because I want to know. I feel like I'm going to need to know. And I feel like the content that comes out of it might be a little interesting. I don't know, though. But that's where I'm on that one. And then when it comes to Midnight Sun, which is another series continuation exploration, I feel like I would like to commend Midnight Sun for being cheaper than fucking Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because the ebook for Ballad is $17.99, and Midnight Sun, before I came on here, I want to say was like $13.99 or $14.99, which, while I still think is outrageous, like, I don't understand how we allowed publishing to get away with this. I understand that traditionally publishing a book is more complex, but one, like, it's not yours, it's a license. You're paying for the license of the thing. And two, it's just a digital document. Like, how a digital document is worth $15 on sale, because they're both like $28 regularly. How a digital document is worth $28, 28 whole dollars, that's the biggest scam of the century. That's why I'm not out here buying all of these ebooks. Like, people were talking about how they buy all these ebooks and they be hoarding ebooks. Will never be me. Never. Traditionally published books are just too expensive. I'm not trying to be out here catching sales not looking for sales. Not doing it. But I think that one's going to be the most interesting, because I don't understand why that book is so long. I don't understand why Midnight Sun is as long as it is. I know that I said recently I think that it's going to include portions. Okay, yes. First of all, them being more than $10 is a war crime. I think that ebook should be free with the option to donate. I think that if you buy like a hardcover book, you should have the option of also getting the ebook with it. I am okay. Like I'm okay with paying for ebooks. I'm okay with ebooks being more than even $2. I think that the Percy Jackson, like the original Percy Jackson ebooks, are like $7. That seemed like a reasonable price to me. Even like $10, reasonable price to me. Probably wouldn't go out of my way to get them, but an ebook price being the same price as a paperback, I'm generally okay with that. An ebook being fucking $18, an ebook being $15, that's a meal. I can get a meal for $15. So that's when it becomes harder for me. I'm also just like I'm on a Kindle. And so the only way that I know how to read a Kindle book is to get them from Amazon. I mean, obviously through my library, but the library is using Amazon. I'm not really sure if we're really making things better here. But so that's like, does Amazon really need my $18? I don't think so. I don't know. I personally don't think they need it. I think they're doing fine. Jeff Bezos is about to be a trillionaire. I think that he could. I don't know. I also don't know what the breakdown is in an ebook and like what percentage goes to an author and like what percentage. I don't understand how it all breaks down. I'm sure there's some reason why they're priced the way they are. Fine. Should never be fucking $28. I don't care if you never actually pay $28, right? Because I don't think anything on Amazon is ever full fucking price. I think you can always get something on Amazon for sale. But the idea that you would list it at $28 so someone buys it at $15 and makes it feel like a sale, like I'm sure those marketing people have their reasonings. I'm sure there's explanations for all of it, but there's something about the idea that you would value this digital thing at $28 is wild to me when the print version isn't even $28. Like the hardcover version of how much is not even gonna do that, but like the digital version of the thing should never be more expensive than the physical version of the thing. That's just where I'm at with it, I think. But Midnight Sun, let's talk about Midnight Sun because of course my battery is running low. Do I need to plug this in? Probably, I'll be fine. I'll just let that die. Probably the one I'm actually the most interested and excited for of the things we've talked about today. Because again, I think that Percy is going to be a flop. Because I think that it's going to be overly detailed. And it's just because I think that if all 13 books of a series of unfortunate events can be faithfully executed in 3 seasons, then don't come to me with fucking Percy Jackson needing 5. Like, don't, like, that's just don't. If 13 books can get adapted in 3 seasons, 13 books, 3 seasons, your 5-book series can get adapted in like 2.5. If the entire Grishaverse can be smushed. I mean, I don't think King of Scars is included. So we'll take out King of Scars. So 5 books, the Grishaverse, can be squished. That's like 2 different time. I don't know, actually. I think it's different timelines. I think Six of Crows takes place after the events of whatever's going on in the Grisha land. I don't know. I haven't read it. But again, the entirety of the Grishaverse without King of Scars can get smushed into one Netflix show. And you need to tell me that Percy needs 5 seasons. The Lightning Thief needs a full 10 episodes. Okay. Like I said, I think that show is not going to be what people think it's going to be. I think that there is an expectation for that show, and it is not going to be met. And I'm not saying that the casting won't be good or the production values won't be there, but I think that 2 or 3 episodes into that, we're going to be recalibrating what we were expecting, and then at the end, we'll be like, okay, that was cute. But Midnight Sun, let's get back on track here. I'm excited, but also again confusion as to why that book is as long as it is. Which is why I think that it will hopefully include portions of New Moon, because I think that honestly, as much as interesting as it would be to be inside Edward's head in Twilight, I think that it'd be much more interesting to be in his head during the events of New Moon. I'm also what is this? Shadow and Bone season 1, I think, is books 1 and 2 of the first series, with some Six of Crows backs. Okay, I don't know. Still, that's 2 full books in 1 season, at least, with elements of a third different series. And you mean to tell me that Percy needs 10 episodes? I'm going 10 because, again, I think that's what a lot Victor has. That's what The Mandalorian has. That's what High School Musical, the series had. So I think that 10 is where Disney Plus is at with episodes. So they need 10 episodes for 1 book. Okay, y'all be trusting Disney, y'all be trusting Mr. Riordan, and I don't know why this man has not proven that he can pace anything, but okay. I think it'd be much more interesting to be in Edward's head, like I was saying, during New Moon. I am biased because New Moon was my favorite. It was my favorite book. I couldn't tell you why, because I think that Jacob is probably the most boring character. I think I just want it to be also New Moon because I read Life and Death. And I think that having read Life and Death, I really don't care what Edward was up to, because there wasn't a whole lot of time where they weren't really together. I mean, I guess you could have part of the book before Bella arrives in Forks. But you couldn't make that be too long, because his shifting point would still be meeting Bella. Then the day after, when he goes to we talk about the fact that he drove to fucking Alaska. I mean, I understand that you can, Canada exists, and I guess you can drive through it and get to Alaska. But I just don't, when I imagine people going to Alaska, I don't really imagine them driving it. And so when I was reading him in Life and Death talking about he drove to Alaska, I was like, yeah, that's a thing you can do. And you did it. And he did it very quickly. I didn't check it. I didn't map quest to see how long it would take a person to drive from Washington to Alaska. They're closer than I am to Alaska, or Florida is to Alaska, so I just kind of went with it. But even that drive, I don't understand where after hello, welcome to the stream. I'm just trying to work through how I'm feeling about Midnight Sun. I don't really know how many times I want to read about Edward thinking about killing Bella, because it was really startling during Life and Death just how frequently that came up after they started talking to each other. There was a good 4 or 5 instances before Victoria and Laurent and whoever the other person was, the black person was. In the movie, he was black. I don't think he was black in the book. Maybe he was. I don't know. The book is very white. It takes 43 hours. I don't think it took Edward 43 hours. But we have to remember that Edward doesn't drive the speed limit. Homeboy is always going 120. So maybe if you're going 120, it's a little bit less. I don't know. But that's what he got there in a day. It might have been 2 days, but the next day he was in Alaska. But remember, he drives 120. He pushes his cars to the limit. So I gave it to him. We're in a world where vampires exist. So if all rules are off. Oh, there went that computer. Which is weird. It was plugged in all night. But okay. So between the point where Bella is, in Twilight, Bella is saved from the little Port Angela situation, and their little thing in the forest where he's Vampire. There's like a good like 4, 5, 10 times where Edward is like, I could kill you. Like, you know I could kill you, right? Like I'm deadly. I could drink your blood. Like, you just smell so delicious to me. Like, I could really drink something right now. And I don't know if I really. Okay, 19 hours, then he did it. Okay, Stephanie Meyer did her research. Good for her. I wasn't doing it. I was just gonna believe it. I don't know how many times I need that from Edward, because I didn't really need it as often as I got it in Life and Death from Edith. Didn't need it at all. I also didn't need a lot. Like the ending, I didn't need. I didn't need. I also like. I don't really understand what this perspective change is going to bring, and I think that's why it's most interesting. Like, I think if the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was like the Hunger Games from PETA's perspective, I would probably be more interested, even though I don't really care about PETA. I think that it just might bring something to the table that Snow could never. But I also I'm okay with the blatant cash grabs of these authors. I think that I think that's a little questionable, but like, I don't think Rashani Chakshi is ever going to be able to release the Gilded Wolves from all 39 million perspectives that are in it. Okay, there's not 39 million, but there's like, what, 6 or 7? I don't think we're going to get like that. But she also just wrote her book multiple perspectives from the first place. I'm also, even though I did originally read some of the Midnight Sun transcript that was on her page back in the day when I was reading Twilight, I am very nervous because I have not enjoyed a single male perspective Stephanie Meyer has written in that universe. So Life and Death is mainly told from Beau's perspective because Bella is now Beau. And he was really not enjoyable. And Jacob's perspective in Breaking Dawn was the hardest part of that book to get through. And so between Beau and Jacob, I have very little faith that Edward will be a pleasure, a ray of sunshine. If anything, I think it'll only be interesting in terms of ranking Stephanie Meyer's male perspectives. Right now, I think that Jacob is still the worst, just because his was so boring. And there was also that really awkward scene of him just running around an amusement park trying to imprint on random people. Like, I don't know what Stephanie Meyer was doing at all. I also don't really understand how it's like Jacob's crush on Bella was never really Bella, but like her eggs. Like, it's weird. Like, so I think that even though in the near future it is possible that I'll be out here dragging the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I also feel that it is just as likely for me to be dragging Midnight Sun, because at the end of the day, I really don't think I ever really need series continuations. I think that's why I'm so slow to get through Cassandra Clare's books, because that's what they all are at this point, is just building on this shared universe, which I don't know. I don't think Cassandra Clare is the only author these days to be doing it, but I think that she's one of the more well-known and most often critiqued person. Like, Percy Jackson has been doing the same thing. We went from Percy to Percy and Jason, now to Apollo. I don't know what's coming after Apollo. I do know the 5th book in that series is coming out this year. I don't know how he's going to continue it. But even the ones that aren't those like long 5-book ones, like the Kane Chronicles crossed over with Percy, Magnus Chase crossed over because Magnus is Annabeth's cousin. That's the other. I would not trust Disney Plus. Yeah, TBH, I thought let's talk about Cursed Child, because I have some unpopular opinions about Harry Potter. and the Cursed Child. I really, really, really like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It is one of my favorite things about the Harry Potter universe. Now, I do understand that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is probably the worst thing that has ever existed as a piece of something that's meant to be treated as canon. Like, if you treat the Cursed Child as canon, it's terrible. And even if you treat it as a piece of something that isn't canon, it's still terrible in terms of how it depicts the characters that we all like. Like, Hermione becomes like a person that was just what? But for me, when I was reading it, Albus Severus and Scorpius, those are my gay children, and I have adopted them, and they are mine. And I don't care if J.K. Rowling said J.K. no homo at the end of that little play. It's still like everything about them is queer. They're queer. They're my little queer children. They're mine. Like, I'm sorry. I just love it. So I understand that it's terrible, but I also understand that it's a play. Like, it's a play, and it's like JK had input on the story. She gets some story credits, but it's not really written by her. Like, it exists in a very nebulous space, and I understand when people don't like it, but I do think that it is the ultimate little, like, these continuations don't need to happen. I think that if there was a poster child for not doing continuations, it would be Cursed Child. But I also personally think it is a little bit Rick Riordan. I think that again, it's been a really long time. What is this? A stage show is not going to read the best because it's meant to be seen in person. I mean, I agree. I think that The Cursed Child was definitely written to be seen, but I also don't think that J.K. Rowling really should be expanding anything. Like, those Fantastic Beasts movies, they're canon, allegedly. Choices, Miss Rowling. Like, I don't like choices, and I don't think that like Rick Riordan is on the same level. And I think that in his expansion of the Percy universe, he has added in a lot of meaningful diversity and a lot of characters that are more than just Percy and Annabeth and Grover existing within those kind of tropes that he was playing with originally. And I think that it's nice, and he has, as a lot of people have gone out of their way to be like, oh, Percy Jackson's trending, you should read the Rick Riordan Presents books, which, I mean, I think it's great that that banner exists. I think that it's great that there is middle grade that is diverse and is written by people of that background. Dragon Pearl by Yoon-Ha Lee. I have never read anything that mixed, well, nothing that I can really think of that mixes fantasy with sci-fi. I know there's a lot of it out there. I know that that's a very common thing for a lot of people to do, especially a lot of black fantasy writers, the black sci-fi writers. They'll weave those things together. And they're especially African, specifically African sci-fi and African fantasy will do that. Sort of Afrofuturism, African futurism will do that. It's just not a genre of things that I've done. So that was like really great. But Rick's own books, back to what I was saying, like, yeah, they're diverse, but I have zero trust that Disney is ever going to adapt those characters the way that they should. Even if you look at a character like Magnus Chase, who, when I picked up the book, I knew that I'd won like a Stonewall book award, but I didn't know for what. I was just wanting to read some Rick Riordan this year. And even though he's like the most white boy to ever be a white boy, you have a hijabi side character who is arguably like a very important role in the book. And then I think in the second book, Magnus gets a genderqueer, gender fluid love interest. And so, like, Disney's not doing that. Like, Disney is not doing it. So it's like, it's hard for me to get excited. It's hard for me to be like the Trojan horse meme with Rick and Disney Plus. Like, Disney is not going to do what you think Disney is about to do with that series. He needs to write a new plot outline. He probably should, but that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. I don't know. People, I don't know. And I understand, like, there are other adaptations. I think it's tricky because you obviously need the first season of whatever you're doing to be successful so that you can continue to do it. And so I understand why people don't necessarily, like, when the first part of the installment process sucks, I can understand, like, wanting a do-over or something. But I don't know. I don't really have a lot of nuanced thoughts about this. My real thoughts on adaptations truly are that the adaptation is never, ever, ever going to be the book, and the continuation is never going to be whatever the first thing in that thing was. You have to appreciate these things for what they are, what they're offering, and what they're attempting to do. And so what I think it is all going to have to eventually boil down to is that, as good as Percy was, and probably still is, I don't know, I haven't read it in a long time, like, it's just not going to be the same thing when you watch it. And also, stop trying to ship 12-year-olds. Like, just stop. Just stop. Like, they are 12. Like, I know that white people really love finding their soulmate, like, on the fucking playground, but y'all could just let them play. Like, let them slay that monster and move on. Like, not all of these little childhood taunts of seaweed brain are, like, romantic overtures. Like, they eventually can become that. Sure, but let's get to that season. Like, let's see if the series gets that far. Like, let's see if y'all really like this thing the way y'all think you're about to like this thing before we start doing all that. Maybe we could do that. But I think that it's really, I think I said this in my page to screen, because if you look at a lot of successful page to screen adaptations, they aren't super faithful. They, like, if you look at The Devil Wears Prada, if you read The Devil Wears Prada, I'm not going to tell you it's a completely different book. It's a completely different experience, but it kind of is. It's not the same. Like, it's different, and it's different in a lot of key ways. And I think that the ways that the movie changes those things, the book is still there. It still exists. If you look at The Princess Diaries, that is not what Meg Cabot wrote. And Meg Cabot started shading those movies by, I think it was like the fourth book or something in that series. I forget. I think I read like 5 of them as a kid, and I recently have reread the first 2. But those books are not there. Julie Andrews isn't the same. Julie Andrews is not playing the grandmother that Meg Cabot wrote. That is a Disneyfication change. If you look at Legally Blonde, that is not what Legally Blonde the book was. So I think that you have to understand and you have to accept changes. And I think that a lot of times, especially when it comes to book to movies, where the bookish community is super invested in them, so, like, you know, properties that skew younger, they are a lot less willing to have things change. They want what they read, and they want it exactly the way it was written. And exactly, they need to capture the essence and not the entire plot. And I think that's why I'm very nervous. Like I've said this several times, I'm very nervous about The Lightning Thief being a whole fucking season. Like, you don't need it. You don't need it. You could easily fit. I mean, I don't know if you would really want to do The Lightning Thief and Sea of Monsters, because I understand, like, the books are a little bit different. They're more episodic. I understand, like, I understand, like, the thought process there. But I still, like, give me the essence. Give me the essence of who these people are. Like, that's it. That's what I've been trying to say for the past hour. So I don't, because it's already been an hour and I've pretty much exhausted everything I thought I was going to talk about today. We'll just go for another like 10 minutes maybe. Feel free to leave your thoughts, comments, questions down below. And I will do my best to respond and answer them in an honest way. So what time is it? For me, it just turned 1 o'clock. Perfect timing. So at like 10 on the hour, we'll go. So I want the essence of things. I have no faith in songbirds, and I'm cautiously optimistic, but also very worried about what Midnight Sun is giving me. So those are my thoughts. Haha. I wish I could fall asleep. I think after this, I was trying to take a shower before I went live, and then my family needed me to do things, and so I had to do those things, and now I'm just sad. So I think I'm going to take a shower, and then I might go to the store, and I probably won't actually take a nap, but a nap does sound really nice right now. My all-time favorite book? For a long time, I answered that it was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea because it was one of the... In my head, that book was really thick. I've seen that book now as an adult, and it's very thin. But 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne is definitely my all-time favorite classic. But just for a number of reasons that are really hard to explain, I'm going to go with Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. It wasn't the best book I read last year, sadly, but it is an all-time favorite. And then as far as nonfiction goes, probably When Cornrows Were in Vogue and Other Thoughts on Cultural Appropriation by Lauren Michelle Jackson, something like that. It's on my best books of 2019 list. But those are the three I would probably say. I have to go to work at 5, so I also want to nap. I mean, I hope you get to take it. So I'm only going to keep you awake for 8 minutes. What you do after that, I don't know. But it won't be my fault. So that's all I care about. But yeah, I fortunately do not have to go to work at 5. I probably should make dinner by 5. But since I have to go to the store, I think I'm just going to buy myself something to eat. And then my family can just figure something out. Because I'm tired of making dinner. I've made dinner all week. So, have I? That's probably a lie. But it feels like it. It definitely feels like it. And if you haven't read those things, I definitely do recommend them. Not just because they're my favorite. But I think they're all... I think that 20,000 Leagues is an excellent entry to sci-fi, even though it's a classic. A lot of people didn't like Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi, but if you'll go into it not expecting it to be contemporary romance and more slice of life, I think it's more satisfying. And then When Cornrows Were in Vogue was just an excellent read. And normally I can't read nonfiction when it's just like the book, but I flew through that one. Also, Permanent Record is in talks at Warner Brothers to be adapted, and I am very excited for that one. It's already 4, so rip. They only work a little 5 hours. Okay, well that's not too bad. You can get through that. I always forget people do not exist in my time zone, like they exist in other time zones. I'm like, it's only 1 o'clock. You have plenty of time. Rip East Coast. Just getting here. Hello. We're about to end this. I'm going to be here for another like 6 minutes. So if there was any questions you had, it doesn't have to be about book to movie adaptations. But feel free to ask away and I will answer it. But yeah, as I was saying, Permanent Record has been optioned by Warner Brothers and I'm very excited for it. I don't know who they're going to cast. I don't know how they're going to cast it. And keep it true to the book because Pablo is half Korean and half Pakistani. I think casting Leanna Smart will be a lot easier because she's just white and Mexican. and I think you can find those everywhere. Not everywhere, but like that's an easier person to cast. But I don't know very many actors who are half Korean and half Pakistani, and I would assume that they would want to keep that present. But I'm going to support it anyway because John Chu is in talks to direct. I guess I could talk about Crazy Rich Asians, which again, super successful movie, and it changed a lot of aspects of the book. It definitely makes it more of a typical rom-com where the book has like 12 different plot lines, and Rachel's and Nick's isn't really the center focus. I guess it's kind of the center focus of that particular book. It kind of gives us an entry point, but they are quickly and swiftly forgotten in the follow-up. So I think that it's another reason that I'm very nervous about super faithful adaptations, because more often than not, I think it's the super faithful aspects that people eventually don't like. Because when you're making a movie, you have to appeal to more than just the base audience. Like, you want to make the core group of people who bought and read Percy Jackson enjoy it, but you want to make people find the series this way, and then you want people who have never, or are never going to read it, still have something to enjoy. And so it's you have to operate on a lot of different levels, and I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. I understand people like to point to him emailing Fox back in the day about how no one was going to like the movie and they were changing all of these things. But I'm very interested to see how he manages to distill his plot line to show that he can do it. Because so far, I think maybe Gillian Flynn, her adaptations seem to please both her book audience and her like just general audience, and she's had a lot of a hand in what they do. I think she was just a producer on Gone Girl, but she did script the Sharp Objects adaptation. So, or she had some script credits, I believe. I don't know. I didn't finish the show, but it was cute. I appreciate Amy Adams getting to do something a little fun. Even like Leanne Moriarty's Big Little Lies, they changed some things around. They added some things around. I think she was involved in that as well. So I think that you can change things and still have people be happy. But I don't know. I'm very nervous about the way people are talking about this. It sounds like they don't really want changes. And I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but writing a book and writing a screenplay are very different skill sets, and they are very different mediums. So that's just what that is. Let's open the stream up over here. Make sure I'm not missing any comments, because that would make me sad, because we have just over 2 minutes left to go. Let's switch over to the right YouTube account. That might be beneficial. No. TBH, I would rather have the rest of the series adapted as musicals. I haven't listened to the soundtrack for the musical. I know that Heather really likes it, and Heather went to see the musical when it was in California before it went to Broadway. And it was included in one of her vlogs. I don't know. To be fair, like before I went to Broadway, it looked very low budget. I don't really like low budget things. I like production values. So I haven't listened to it, but I've only heard good things. So I like that. Like that's good for them. I don't know how they adapted it, what they did to do that. But I think that's just really further evidence that you don't need 10 hours. Like, you don't need it, because no musical is going on for 10 hours. Okay. But yeah, I don't think I missed anything. That was the last. Let's move this away from top chat. Okay. Well, thanks for coming out. Thanks for being here, guys. I don't know when the next video is going to go up. I'm still reading The Wongs versus the World. I'm 11% of the way through that one now. Still really good. Still really enjoying it. That's by Jade Chang. So that's what I'm up to. Thanks for chatting with me today on this Sunday. I'll see you guys again soon, whenever that happens to be. But until then, stay safe, stay hydrated, and goodbye.